To the playoffs here on First Take, the Bills will head to Denver to face a Broncos team that is rested, coming off a wild card bye in the playoffs, while the Bills, they're coming in hurt, very hurt. Gabe Davis tore his ACL and the Bills win over the Jags, and now Tyrell Shavers also tore his ACL, leaving the Bills with just 3 healthy receivers on their active roster. Obviously, this is not good news at all for the Bills. They have to go to Mile High. They got to face a Denver team that I just said is very well rested. Pam, what is your concern level for Josh Allen and the Bills?
Look, in my mind, I was like, if there's a year to win it, no Joe Burrow, no Lamar, no, no Pat Mahomes, the AFC that normally has been in the playoffs the last 7 years. I was like, this is the year. This is where paradigms get elevated. Okay, we think Josh Allen, I've called him Andrew Luck 2.0, but he's been a league MVP. You don't do that because, hey, Andrew Luck was a baller. He was a supreme baller. That being said, this is his time where you go from, oh man, he's a really good quarterback in league MVP to phenomenal, sensational, Super Bowl champion. This is the year. But that being said, now you have to have the Denver Broncos conversation. Sean Payton has now had 2 weeks to put together a master plan. What has he been doing? He's been in the lab for the last 2 weeks. He probably gave the players the first week off. Hey, you guys go home. I'm in the lab working. Then when you come back, you're fresh. That front is formidable. That back, the back, Pat Surtain anchoring it? Come on. The defense is going to win it. And that offense, all it has to do is maintain. And you got Bo Nix that he can do that. But I'm saying, you give Sean Payton 2 weeks, and I love it for the team.
So concern level extremely high.
Well,
it sounds
extremely
like
high.
for Josh Allen. What do you think, S.A.?
I knew you'd find a way to give Sean Payton some love, but he deserves it. He deserves it. Hell of a coach. Let me say this. I think about this. First of all, RC, Cam, at some point in time, we're going to talk about the Bills GM and how you refuse to give up a first-round pick in 2026 to go and get Jalen Waddle. I mean, think about that for a second. This is Josh Allen that we're talking about. You got a superstar at quarterback that is widely considered to be the best in the game right now. The brother is spectacular. And every year counts. You know how physical the sport is. You know anything could happen. The moment is the moment. We talk about Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes being home. What we're not talking enough about is how the Bills are bereft of weapons. Now you got Gabe Davis and Terrell and they're down. And I got the ACL injuries. I got that part. But even before all of that, talk about Knox, you're talking about Kincaid, you're talking about Shakur. I mean, Shakur could blow on, we get that part. We wait for Keon Coleman to develop and what have you. But we're looking at them and we're saying, what's up? You don't have enough weapons. You should have gave up. It's one thing if you refuse to give up a first-round pick at all. But the Bills were willing to give up a first-round pick in 2027. The Dolphins just wanted it in 2026. And you wouldn't do that. You'd have Jalen Waddle right now. Could you imagine what you could potentially do in this AFC? I say you don't have enough weapons. You got a Denver Broncos team that recorded 68 sacks. They're going to be hunting. Josh Allen, he's better, obviously, without pressure than he was under pressure this year, from a 73% completion percentage down to 53% when he's under pressure. I can't see the Buffalo Bills winning this game. That's just me.
The Buffalo Bills do not have enough on offense to beat the Denver Broncos, except for they have Josh Allen.
And if that's the case, you'd have to lean into let James cook.
Yeah, they have Josh Allen. They have Joe Brady. What Joe Brady has done for Josh Allen is taken everything off of his shoulders when it comes to the pass game, because James Cook is the most underrated running back in football. He's the one superstar we don't talk about enough. Now, is Ty Johnson going to be healthy that you can add to the pass game? How much do you use Kincaid? How much do you use Dawson Knox? And this is all about getting Josh to the fourth quarter, where it becomes who can be the best playmaker, who can be the guy that makes the biggest impact. He's already been the league MVP. I disagree with Cam. I believe he's already ascended to phenomenal. Now it's about immortality. That's where Josh Allen is. There is no reason that this roster should compete with the roster of the Denver Broncos. The only reason people believe in you right now is because of Josh Allen. But haven't we had that same conversation about Patrick Mahomes? Isn't that why we feel Patrick Mahomes right now is the gold standard in football? Here is Josh's chance. If he loses, everybody will give him every excuse and every reason in the world why he shouldn't have won. Give us the one reason why they can, which is you.
It's just tough with all those injuries. By the way, Sean Payton, 3-0, perfect. When a bye, going into the playoffs, into the divisional round, obviously that.
apply that to me today, that's for sure. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Adam, okay, thank you. The news of the day, if you're just tuning in, you're just waking up with us, John Harbaugh is going to be, according to Adam Schefter, the head coach of the New York Giants. While it is not official, the New York Giants, to their credit, did everything they could possibly do to get John Harbaugh, and they did it. And I don't think that can be oversold. I think the hype around the success the Giants have had in getting this man to coach their team is vital. I really do. I think it's unbelievable that they're the team that went out and got him. As Dan Orlovsky is going to pop in, he's got a hat on today. Courtney Cronin is hosting with us from Chicago, so you can put that on. What hat do we have there? Family Forever. Yeah. Oh, I like that. That's a nice hat.
Yeah, that's
cool. A nice hat. Dan Orlovsky, ESPN NFL analyst, joining us here on Unsportsmanlike. Are you surprised that John Harbaugh picked the Giants?
No, absolutely not. It's the New York Giants. It's one of the kind of blue bloods of the NFL, and they've got a young stud quarterback. So if you're looking at places and you're saying, okay, what are the things that are important for me as a coach that is experienced, has got great leadership, understands what it looks like? And so, all right, I want to – an organization that at least has a past of understanding the right way to do things, and it's been a part of their fabric. And I want a young, cheap quarterback. And then there's other pieces on this football team. We all know about the defensive line in Malik. So I'm not surprised. My guess is that he probably has a little bit of an inkling that Green Bay and LaFleur are more than likely going to work things out and figure out a way to get back on the same page and get their deal done. I would have thought if he had word that Green Bay seemed to be heading towards a split, then he would have held out for Green Bay. But I think him signing in New York gives me, at least personally, a thought that LaFleur is going to stay.
All right, Dan, you said that one of the attractive points for the Giants was that they have a young stud quarterback. And we're divided here. Courtney and I think that because you have a young stud quarterback and you see so many of these quarterbacks get paired with the right coach and they have immediate success, that's what's expected in New York. We see it with Caleb and Ben Johnson. We've seen it with Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence, etc. Evan thinks that the measure of success is just to bring stability to the organization. So in your mind, what does success look like for Harbaugh there?
Win right away. Mm-hmm. Harbaugh is not wired to just let's have stability. I mean, this guy has been a Super Bowl winning coach. He's been number one seeds. They've won the division multiple times. So I think, and I don't believe it's unrealistic, for that in New York. There's pieces there, and so I think it's going to be immediately contending to win the division and be a playoff football team. Absolutely. And my questions, going forward, and I've asked that this week, is who's your offensive coordinator, who's your defensive coordinator? Because he's got ties to both Greg Roman and Todd Monken.
Seems like it's going to be Monken for
I would have preferred Monken just because I think he's got more pass game concepts that work well. So this is an offensive line that does need pieces, but it's not that far away. They performed better than they had in this past year. Defensive line is fantastic. I want to know who the defensive coordinator is. Zach Gore, the past 2 years in Baltimore, has had 2 stretches where the defense has been absolutely horrific. So I do think that bears the question, but no question about it. I think it's going to be expected to win at least contending playoff football team caliber games for first year.
We were told through a lot of different reports that he would have carte blanche from who he brings in with his coaching staff, and we've heard obviously Todd Monken's name come to the light today, but also that he would have been able to pick his own GM. So what does this say that he's signing up to work with Joe Schoen about his confidence in Joe Schoen being able to build this roster to his vision?
At least today, it seems like he's got a somewhat of a belief in Joe Schoen. I've been around the NFL. I think we've all been around the NFL long enough to know things can change rapidly. So we'll see, if this is the plan moving forward, if this is something that they say, let's give it this draft and see how it plays out. And if you don't like it, we'll change the general manager type of thing. So I still think that there's a lot of pressure on Joe Schoen to hit on more draft picks and have a really big April once again. But I don't know if it's, written in stone that Schoen and Harbaugh are going to kind of be in lockstep. You would expect it to be, but things can change rapidly when decisions like this are made.
We'll talk with Dan Orlovsky, ESPN NFL analyst here on Unsportsmanlike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Who should coach the Steelers, and how does that person get them good?
Yeah, I mean, I think my starting point with this one was if things went sour in Green Bay, it would have been Matt LaFleur. If it's not that case, and it doesn't seem like at least today it's going to be that, I think the Steelers have to take a step back and go, do we want to continue to have the identity of old school, defensive, tough, physical, or do we want to try something different? Mr. Rooney, who's hiring this next coach, I don't believe he's ever been the man to hire the head coach. So this is a little bit of new territory for him. You know, you're going to have all the names out there, the Chris Shulas, the Jesse Minters, the Brian Floreses. Those are all defensive guys. Who is the offensive coordinator for me in those conversations are a huge deal. I would be shocked if it was a Kevin Stefanski just because of the inner division. He'd be the next offensive person or offensively inclined person. So, you know, I think for Pittsburgh, how do they get better? I would say this, like, because there's the theory of like it's a rebuild. No, it's not. It's not in Pittsburgh. One, they have, I think, 5 picks in the top 100 this year. That's not rebuild. That's immediately get impactful players. I think they have top 10 cap space in the next 2 seasons. They don't have a ton of money allocated next year. So it'll be interesting to see who they pick. But philosophy-wise, if it's leaning offense or defense, there's way more defensive people to choose from.
Dan, let's go back to offensive coordinators. Kevin Patullo out in Philly. You've been putting great stuff out there about what you've seen from this Eagles offense this year. For our audience, how would you characterize the Eagles offense in 2025, and what do they need to do with this next hire to bring out the best in Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, restrictive and predictable and regressing. Everybody on that offense regressed outside of Dallas Goedert, and that's the biggest concern. I think this was the worst offensive line they've had in 10 years, but that doesn't happen by mistake or by accident. You know, I think the next offensive coordinator, number one, has to be a proven play caller. I do not believe that you can hire somebody in that environment right now that's never done it. You have to get somebody that is just experienced in the game planning, the in-game changes, and has the experience of calling plays at the NFL level. The second thing is somebody that understands that Jalen as a passing quarterback is not going to be Brock Purdy, Joe Burrow, CJ Stroud. He's not going to be the person that plays in that timing and rhythm over the middle of the field. That doesn't mean that he should not be a quarterback that plays without timing and rhythm. But you have to build your pass game around his strengths, try to mitigate some of the things that maybe aren't the strengths of his, which is, again, throwing on time over the middle of the field. There has to be a significant growth in the pass game concepts. And, you know, I can't, this is, you know, the things that you hear, but these for years has been the Nick Sirianni quote unquote offense. I think there needs to be a step away from that. You just, unless, like, yes, they won the Super Bowl last year. God bless them. They were so physically dominant that it gave them the opportunity to be simplistic within their approach. They didn't need advantage to be created. The advantage was my guy better than your guy. That's gone right now. So you have to find an offensive coordinator that is going to find different ways to create advantages with their scheme. We'll see who that is. I think it'll be really, really interesting, like the people that are interested in that job, but it's a huge hire.
Dan, we heard yesterday from Dante Moore on SportsCenter that he's going to return to college.